folks, welcome to the channel. I'm Don. This is Rockin' the Country. I'm doing a gift request from Montauk Ed. So Ed, shout out to you, my friend. And here's the thing. Ed puts it to me emotionally. He gave me a break on the last song, he said, but there was still a lot of thought content in it. But Ed and I, in many ways, are a lot alike. And but he really knows the types of songs that are going to get me. Here's the thing. I know this song. I actually reacted to this song early in the channel, and there's more to the story. It's Brett Eldredge's song, Raymond. And I actually had dinner with Brett Eldredge before he was big. He'd already released Raymond, but I was friends with Frankie Ballard, and Frankie's career was on the ascendancy at the time. Frankie flew into Philadelphia, texted me that he had a show that night down the Jersey Shore, and so I went down to meet him. And so we had dinner before he had the show, but I had dinner with Frankie and Brett Eldredge and my dear friend Lindsay Wallerman, who had passed away. The three of them were there. In any case, I thought Raymond would get Song of the Year. I mean, it was so well written. And I got to tell Brett that. I didn't know Brett was going to be there too. Frankie and Brett were both sort of touring a little bit together at the time. So Brett happened to be there, a really nice guy. And I was like, oh my gosh, man, I actually thought it should have gotten Song of the Year. And it came out in 2010, but I haven't heard the song in a while. Brett can write a song. He wrote this with Chrysler. I forget his first name. Mark?
I work down at Ashbury Hills, minimum wage, but it pays the bills, cleaning floors and leading hymns on Sunday. Catherine Davis, room 303, sweetest soul you ever could meet. I bring her morning coffee every day. She calls me Raymond. She thinks I'm her son. Tells me get washed up for supper before your daddy gets home. She goes on about the weather, how she can't believe it's already 1943. She calls me Raymond.
World War II.
That's alright by me. She talks about clothes on the line in the summer air, Christmas morning and Thanksgiving prayer, and stories of a family that I've never had.
Oh.
Well, sometimes I find myself wishing I'd been there. When she calls me Raymond, she thinks I'm her son. Tells me get washed up for supper before your daddy gets home. She goes on about the weather, how she can't believe it's already 1943. She calls me Raymond, and that's alright by me.
I always wondered, did she lose her son in World War II? Because the date, 1943, you know, the U.S. was in World War II. Germany, Japan, and all that. We were fighting with Russia. Both world wars we fought with Russia. Common enemy, Germany.
There's a small white cross in Arlington. Reads Raymond Davis, 71. Until she can see his face again, I'm gonna fill in the best I can. When she calls me Raymond, she thinks I'm her son. Tells me get washed up for supper before your daddy gets home. She goes on about the weather, how she can't believe it's already 1943. She calls me Raymond, that's alright by me. She calls me Raymond. That's alright by me.
Yeah, you can see this little old lady and her mind is deteriorating, but the dates in this thing, like 1943, she can't believe it's already 1943. Now I mean, maybe that's just a random number that the songwriters picked, but I don't think so, because 43, we're in the throes of World War II. 71 is Vietnam, and 71 was the date that her son Raymond died. So was he born in 43, time of war, and died as a Vietnam soldier? Perhaps, because he would have been 28 years old. And that is, when you're in your 20s, that's a lot of soldiers are in their 20s. So were those dates that just sort of triggered her, or is this just a story that she's just older, maybe dementia or Alzheimer's? The beautiful part of the song and the storytelling in this is that he kind of wished he was part of that family because he didn't have a family. We'd got no details on it, just left it open, but you don't need details. That's brilliance in songwriting, is when you don't pigeonhole. You leave out the information that you don't need to supply. And that's an art. That's an art in speech. That's an art in writing, not just songs, but whether you're long form or articles, you have to assume a certain measure of understanding on behalf, or intelligence on behalf of the listener or the reader. And in this case, they did this. Brett and his co-songwriter, Chrysler, but gosh, I wish I remembered his first name. But anyway, this whole story, you can see, my grandmother was in a nursing home before she passed. And this is, 20 some odd 30 years ago. So sort of my mind picture goes into that home that she was in, that this is where Mrs. Davis, what was she in, room 203 or something? But he's the janitor there. He leads hymns on Sundays. He's just a good dude. And she thinks and he goes along with it. He tells her, get washed up for supper. I love that. We used to call it supper too, even though I'm in Jersey. It was supper. Not everybody calls it supper. Some people go straight dinner. But there's a lot of good stuff in this. I love the way Brett sang this song. It's funny, I haven't heard it in a while. It had more, not of a rock bass to it, but more of the guitar was more prominent than I remembered it, because the storyline is so compelling. That's what I remember. So this is a review, Ed, but you are right though. This would have blown me up. The first time I heard this thing, it didn't blow me apart, but I was like, oh my God. All right, I don't know what I rated it the first time, but early in the channel, I was leaving room for songs. I was rating them lower early in the channel. It's more of a cognitive than a sentimental thing. I just go by what I feel. And this song to me, based on the storyline, is a 9.7. It's a phenomenal song. And not quite a 10, but darn close. So, Ed, thank you, my friend. And maybe if I run into Brett again, we'll share stories, because he and I we both knew Lindsay quite well, and then she passed. So, all right, guys, have a great day. I'll see you on another video, and keep rocking the country.